y'all, it's Dee. I just wanted to share with you guys what I usually do to make the mask holders. So they look something like this. I have also used a pattern to make them like this to go around the ponytail, and I've made them like smaller. I've made ones that loop around the ear holes of the mask and button this way. That one's a little bit more difficult to do, this guy. So I'm going to stick with the basic crochet pattern that I use to make just the regular ear savers is what they're calling them. What it is basically you take it with a mask, which this is one of my homemade masks. You take it and you loop around like this, go around your face, on your face, loop it behind your head, and then that way it saves your ears from getting pulled on. I do recommend wearing like a low ponytail with it because otherwise it does slip down the back of your head, but this is what it looks like. You've got it secured behind and it's not actually looping onto your ears, so it saves your ears from getting pulled on by the elastic, basically. So I'm going to show you guys my pattern. It's not really my pattern, it's the one that I use. So what we do is I use just regular, I think it's acrylic yarn. You can really use any kind of yarn that you would like to use. I think the cotton, like cotton brand yarns, or the cotton for yarn is generally what people use because it can go into higher heat. The acrylics, I've dried them myself in my own personal dryer, and there's not, like, it doesn't degrade it or anything like that. So I think that you can pretty much just use whatever. It doesn't have to be sanitized like the mask itself, because it does go behind your head, it doesn't go in the front, and it doesn't come into contact with your mouth or anything like that. So let's get into it. I'm going to show you guys how I do this. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the tail end of my yarn and make a slip knot first to start with. So what I do is I bring it up, twist it around, and then grab the piece that's attached to the skein, the longer piece, not the tail. If you grab the tail, it's not going to tighten up properly and it's going to make your work a little bit just not right. If you're a crochet person or a knitting person or somebody that works with a lot of yarn, you're going to know basically how to make a slip knot. That tip is more for beginners or people that haven't done it in a while or whatever. Alright, so what I did was I just put the hook through into the yarn. Pull it taut, but not like too tight, because if you pull it too tight, you're not going to be able to get back into it and pull through, especially on the second way underneath. You're not going to be able to pull the yarn through. You're not going to be able to get your hook through there. It's going to be too tight. So we're going to start with what's called a chain. Again, I'm left-handed, so it's going to be a little bit different from what other people do. So we're going to start off with a chain. The one that I looked up said to do the chain for 20. I generally do it about 30 because the 20 comes out smaller, which is cool because with the hospital grade masks, I think the elastic's a lot more stretchy, but if you're going to do homemade masks with these, definitely recommend making it a little bit bigger. You can do as many as you want to, just know that you are going to make the size of your ear saver longer the more chains that you do. So for the purposes of this video, I'm just going to do 20 to show you the basic thing that I do. So if you're going to chain 20, what you're going to do is pull it over, loop it through. That's 1, 2, 3, 5. Okay, I have my chain of 20. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to count back 2 and do a half double crochet. So a regular double crochet is you loop it over, push it in, pull it through, loop it over, pull it through two, go back, loop it again, pull it through the last two, and then it makes a longer piece. What the double crochet does is make it a tighter, more uniform piece, I guess is, I don't know. It makes it stay closer together. It doesn't have as many holes and spaces and all that in it, so it doesn't stretch as much. So what you're going to do for a half double crochet is you're going to loop it over, put your hook through the second chain. So my chain looks like this, so I'm going to count back from my hook, go 1, 2, hook through that second chain. I don't know what's on this yarn, it looks weird. And then you're going to loop it back over. So what I did was basically, again, loop it through, pull the yarn through, loop it over, and then you should have 4 on your hook. So then you're just going to loop it and then pull it through all 4 of those. That's 1 half double crochet. So again, I'm going to loop it over, push it through the next chain, grab that long piece there and pull it through so that you have 3, and then loop over again and pull it through. So then you do this all the way down. Again, over, push it through, pull it through, over, pull it through. Basically like tying your shoes, but with the help of a hook. So we're going to go through and do all of those all the way down. And then I'll show you guys what we do at the end and how I start the other side. Alright, so we're coming up on that last stitch there. And what you're going to do in this very last one is you're going to do 3 of the half double crochet just to make a little bit of an edge around instead of just going from one side to the other. That way it's more rounded instead of like squared off. Haven't actually tried to do it the other way, so I'm not sure. Alright, so this is where not doing your stitches too tight comes in handy. Also, the way that I do it, I don't have to worry about sewing in the tail. I just have to worry about sewing in the end because I crochet the tail in with on the way back. So how I do that is same thing, loop it over. I usually hold the tail kind of with the work, like in this hand. I hold the tail with the work and then put through this first, so you see you've got all these beautiful little half double crochets there. So this very first half double crochet, you can see where your chain was at. So you push through that way. And then as long as you hold that tail in there, it's gonna get kind of caught in with everything else whenever you do that half double crochet. Fun drinking games, take a shot every time that I say half double crochet because it's been a lot, I feel like. So then same thing, just go all the way down. So you're gonna go through that again. The next one, don't go through the same one. Then half double crochet, over, push through the next. Basically that's just kind of hiding the bulk, I guess, of the chain and the tail that you've got there. So that way you only end up with one long one in the end, so that way we can sew on the buttons and it's a really easy process. Also, I've seen a lot of people on one of the pages that I follow talk about having the like the line around your finger from whenever you hold the yarn. I just now realized that I use my whole hand, so I guess maybe I would get that right here, but just do be careful on the way that you hold your work and the way that you hold your yarn, so that way you don't hurt your hand in the process, because the last thing you want to do is not be able to do what you love. And one thing that I love to do is crochet. I love to make things. Okay, so I'm coming up to the very end of that first line there at the bottom. So I have 2 left. We're going to loop over, pull it through, get those last half double crochets in. And then on this very last one, I'm going to do 3 more. So that way it makes it round, just like with the other end that we did, it makes it rounder at the end. And finish everything off. So we're going to go 1, 0, 3, and then you're going to slip stitch to that very first half double crochet. That tail can just go wherever it wants to go now. You ain't got to worry about keeping it in your work. So we're going to slip stitch to this very first half double crochet. I go under both of, I don't really know the name for those. The top stitch, I guess. Maybe. I just love it when it doesn't work like I want it to. There we go. Okay. So to slip stitch, you just basically pull it through all the way. So there we have it. That's the whole thing there. If you're making a bigger one, I generally, like if you'll notice the bigger ones that I make, I generally will go all the way around and do another row of just single crochets. But I'm not going to do that for this video for length purposes because it's already going to be crazy long, a little boring, but it's okay. It shows you what to do. And if you guys have any questions, please feel free to message me or comment on the YouTube video or comment through Facebook, whichever platform that you're looking at my videos through. Just feel free to let me know if you have any questions. I'm here to answer things. I'm not doing literally anything else except for maybe cleaning my house, but So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull that work through just to give myself a big long tail. So then you pull it just all the way through once you do that, so that way you have something to sew the buttons on with. And then what I do is I kind of pull this. What happened there? You're gonna have stitches mess up. It happens. Lucky for me, for this one it's on the back, so it doesn't really matter. Plus it's just for the video. So, but I usually will pull it kind of tight, or pull it like long ways, and then pull my tail out just a little bit, and then clip it so that way it gets hidden in those stitches. And then toss the tail. Okay, now it's going to be time to sew that button on. So I'm going to show you guys how to do that. Okay, so now let's go ahead and get those buttons sewed on. What I have today as far as buttons, you can really use anything as long as it's big enough for those loops to go around the elastic. I try not to make it too big though. I actually ordered these guys on Amazon like right whenever everything started because I realized this is something I can do whenever I'm sitting watching a movie or just chilling or whatever, and they're super easy to make. So I just grabbed 2 buttons because at either side. You are gonna need a crochet needle, yarn needle, whatever you want to call it. I got these, it's Clover brand, the container. I don't know about the needles, I've had it forever. So I generally just grab like the smaller needle that I have. How I make sure that it fits in my buttonholes is I put the piece that the yarn goes into, I generally just make sure that it fits in there nice and smooth. And I've tied some yarn around mine just so that I can make sure that I have something, like I know what it is whenever I go to grab it out of there. Okay. So I just thread my needle with the end. That's one good thing about using the long end is I can make a lot of these all at once and then go back and sew all of my buttons on. So that way I just make big tails and that's how I keep up with them. The smaller needle is a little bit more difficult to thread the needle, but it's okay. All right, so what I generally do is I go back in over where you can see where it comes from one side of your work. I go back in through the other side, so that way it just kind of makes it more even. And then I just kind of go hide the needle, or hide the yarn a little bit. So I kind of go between my stitches, which is not an easy process, apparently. And then I pull it snug, but not too tight, because if you pull it too tight, you're going to be able to see it mashed up like that. And then I decide which way I want my buttons to go, so I think that will go heart side out. You will have, let me show you all this first. So you will have on each side where you sewed the 3, you'll have like a little hole. What I generally do is I will, on either side is where I pull the yarn around my button, so that way it holds it to more than just like one piece of yarn, it holds it to the whole bottom piece, and therefore it stays a little bit better, I guess. And it gives me an idea of what I'm doing. So generally loop it around a couple of times. Sometimes your yarn will bunch up, and that's okay. You can really easily just pull it back out the other way, the way that you came in. And then so that my yarn only has 2 pieces sewn in, it makes it a little bit more difficult for it to unravel so many pieces if you only have 2. One of the reasons I make this piece so long is so that I can put it back in through and go all the way down this rib of stitches. On the skinnier side, I kind of go between all those half double crochets there. Okay, so I'm going to sew this other side on. I got that guy put in through there, through the back. Get this other button sewed on this side. This is really, really, really easy to make, and it helps our healthcare team, it helps our ears, it helps everybody that's in the world, basically, that is having to wear masks. So now, with all this going on, because I'm from Tennessee and this is what we say, from all of this happening, all the C word, the big guy, not even gonna say his name, all of these things going on, we're all having to wear masks. And very soon, people are gonna start realizing that it's not as easy as it looks to wear a mask all day long, especially if you have to keep it tight on your nose or you have to change it out all the time. But this helps at least a little bit from what I've seen, from what I've helped people. I've donated a lot of these to various hospitals in the area. I have sent some to a friend that's in Boston. I have sent some to my mom so that she can distribute them around the city that I'm from. So that way, just trying to help the community out a little bit, I guess. So we've got this button, this other one sewed on here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go back through the back and then just secure this big long tail in here. So basically the same way that I did that short tail, I'm going to do the same thing to the long tail. I realize that this is not close up, so it's not going to help you if you're trying to learn from a beginner level on what to do as far as making these, but it is going to help, hopefully, a little bit to not only show people what it is that I'm making, but to show people how to make them. So maybe it will encourage you to make some of your own and either donate them or use them yourself. I have seen a lot of people have made things like these in masks and are trying to sell them. Don't recommend that, because we are all in this together. I understand people needing money and people needing to sell things, but me personally, I already have these things in my house except for the buttons. It's the only thing I didn't have. And I feel like it's the least that I can do to help people that are essential, that are out there every day risking their lives for people like me to be able to stay home. So I'm going to just trim off the end here. Do the same thing that I did with the small one. I pull it through just a little bit so that way it goes in there. And there you have it. There's that little ear saver guy. I am going to just make this one for y'all this time. If you want to know how to make any of the other kinds, like the longer one with the single crochet around the outside, this I just kind of came up on my own. I seen a picture of it and thought it looked neat, so I made this one on my own. I don't have a pattern. I can try to make one if I need to, but I don't have one. But again, this one just kind of buttons. Apologize, it's a little dark. And then it holds the ear straps secure this way. And then you can unbutton it, let it loose. And then this one, really had high hopes for the one that goes around the ponytail. I personally didn't like it because I use, the mask that I wear is not, it's not hospital grade, it's not from the hospital, it's one that I made at home, and it has really tight-ish elastic and it's too tight. It makes it too tight on my face to use this one, but it's really convenient. But you do have to use a low ponytail, again, with this one. Alright, so that's going to be it for my video this time, guys. Let me know in the comments below if I have any questions that I can answer, or if there's something that you see that I did different from you or wrong or whatever. Just let me know. Give this video a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe. Thank y'all so much.